What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA podcast. I'm your host, DS, and of course, as always, as always, I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam.
What up, dog?
What's up, man?
I know you've had a tough week, hence the Topo Chico.
Yeah, we're sponsored by Topo Chico today. I'm having some violent gastrointestinal issues.
It'd be like that.
I won't make it your problem.
Right.
So, but today we have a very interesting fight night card. It's not a pay-per-view. We've been blessed lately, but, you know, Holloway versus Allen, obviously a huge main event.
Yep.
And a huge card, 14 fights on the docket. Anything you want to mention before we jump right into it?
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
6 main events in a row.
Oh, sure.
For your boy.
Yep.
I think I've been searching the interwebs and the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say I'm the hottest main event picker on YouTube right now. I don't think
in
anyone's
many ways.
hit 6 in a row.
In many ways,
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
And I mean it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6 in a row. We're going for number 7 this week. Also, we tried to go live. We told some of our followers we're going to do that. I had requested live access from YouTube. They gave it to me, but apparently I need to do it again. So sorry about that if you were looking out for the live. We're going to try that for next week. Hopefully that fixes up some of the issues we're having. And that's not your concern, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did terribly on last week's card. I just want to say that. So if you're going to listen to anybody on this podcast, and at least when it comes to betting, you know, I have colorful insights, I would say. But,
colorful.
And I usually do pretty good, but last week was not my week for sure.
I mean, I didn't do like much better than you.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. It's fine. Let's just do our thing. We're not a betting podcast. We've said that 1,000 times.
Purely informational here.
Informational. We're having fun. We love MMA. We hope you do too. By the way, guys, hate to throw this at you, but you should like and subscribe. Please ring that little bell down there. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Instagram.
Even if you hate it.
Yeah. And a lot of people hate us.
Right. So
I've been told that.
Let us know.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram, the107MMA. We would really, really appreciate it. Yeah. I'm ready. I'm excited for this card.
Let's jump right into it, my friend. First fight of the night, it's a slobber knocker. It's Jocelyn Edwards versus Lucy Pudilova. I guess I'll take this one first.
Yeah, because I don't have my notes pulled up, and I'm getting a phone call from China on my laptop. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so, I mean, I'll be honest, man. You know, I don't think this is a fight, a women's fight, where we're looking at two high-level competitors. You know, Jocelyn Edwards is definitely the better striker between the two. Mm-hmm. She's long, she's strong. She had a split decision win versus Ji-Yeon Kim in her last one. She beat Ramona Pascual by unanimous decision as well. Had a win against Yanan Wu. So she's been in the UFC for a little bit. Lucy Pudilova also beat Yanan Wu in her last fight, a little bit more decisively. Yeah, as far as Jocelyn Edwards, you know, she doesn't really set up her kicks. That's my one qualm with her as far as her striking. Mm-hmm. I wish that she would throw her hands a little bit first and then kind of go for the kick, because I think she just kind of spams the kick at times, and it doesn't work for her as much as it should. On paper, she should be, you know, beating up a lot of these girls, you know. Yeah. In a weird way, she feels like a lazy fighter to me, if that makes sense. Like her, like she got like lazy feet. Like she's not like super quick and explosive. At least that's not something that jumps out on film to me. Yeah. But like I said, I do like her striking overall. You know, even the Ramona Pascual fight, though, it was, you know, I thought it was pretty close. I thought Ramona could have done more damage and taken that win. Her best weapons are kicks. You know, Lucy Pudilova, jump into her. It's her second stint in the UFC. At one point, she lost 4 in a row in the UFC to pretty mediocre talent. Mm-hmm. Really, there's no winners in this fight, you know. Yeah. I guess if I have to pick somebody, I'll go Pudilova by decision. I think if it gets to the ground, she's definitely got the advantage there. So I do see her at some point getting Jocelyn down, even though Jocelyn's probably the stronger fighter. Mm-hmm. But I'll go Lucy by decision.
Sure. So we agree in terms of the decision. However, I am going to take Jocelyn Edwards. I do not see a world where this fight is finished. It's going to be a 29-28 either way.
Yep.
Very close fight. I'll give the edge to Edwards. I just think her ability to kind of stay long, stay away, pop from a distance is going to win her this fight. She is a big girl, Jocelyn Edwards. I don't see her getting taken down, or if she does, you know, she'll be able to get back up. That's kind of what I see, but we both know that this is going to be a very slow-paced 15 minutes.
Definitely.
And should go to the judges. So if you're going to bet, which, again, we are not a betting podcast, bet the over on the rounds or it goes the distance probably.
Yeah, and I for what it's worth, I think this is the first time that we've disagreed on the first fight of the card.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. I've done terrible with women's fights, by the way, in the last, 2 months.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
The last 2 months, you mean since we started the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on to the next fight on the card, and this is a interesting newcomer, Gaston Bolaños, versus Aaron Phillips. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So Bolaños is a Bellator guy making his UFC debut. Very nice Muay Thai. Comes from a kickboxing background. Comes from this, just a striking background in general. He has a couple spinning elbow knockouts in Muay Thai.
It's like a special move.
Right, exactly. It's a special move. He doesn't have too much on the ground. He is similar to Phillips in that way. I was just kind of wondering, why is Gaston Bolaños in the UFC? The signing didn't really make sense to me. It's a guy with not a very impressive record, coming from Bellator.
From a lesser
organization. He's 30 years old. The signing really doesn't make sense. Aaron Phillips, decent skills, stand-up fighter for sure. Like I said, he doesn't have too much on the ground. He's a tough, gritty southpaw striker. There's a great picture.
One of the weirdest looking guys as far as his little typology picture.
Yeah, he likes to come forward a ton. I have to take Gaston Bolaños in this one. Phillips has not been active at all. This should be a stand-up fight. We're assuming it's going to be a kickboxing fight. Bolaños has the power in his advantage. I think he does find one of those highlight reel KOs that he's famous for in this one. But again, very weird fight. Two guys that are not, it just doesn't make sense. The matchmaking doesn't make sense. The signing doesn't make sense. But I will trust the newcomer in Bolaños.
Yep. Yeah. First of all, did you know there's a place called Dublin, California? I did not know that.
I learned that on Tapology.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said pretty much. Weird fight. For what it's worth, Bolaños is the -180 favorite.
Yeah.
Aaron Phillips, I think this is his third UFC stint, to be honest.
Second stint.
Second, but he's been out for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost, you know what I mean?
First fight since 2020.
Right, and that's when he lost to Jack Shore, who was, a real up-and-comer at that point. So, you're not taking much away from him there. But Phillips is primarily a striker too, and I just think Bolaños is the more well-rounded striker. I think he probably has the more power too. For what it's worth, Aaron Phillips also 3 years older, and the fact that he's the older fighter and also the one that's been more inactive.
Sure.
I think Gaston is even a little bit more versatile as far as the striking goes, and like I said, stronger. I think Gaston potentially knocks him out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in agreement there. Glad to see after the first fight we can agree on the second one.
Yeah, not that I feel super strongly about that, but
Yeah.
Moving up, it's Bruna Brasil versus Denise Gomes.
Good name, Bruna Brasil.
Bruna Brasil is like a national hero name.
That sounds like a porn star.
It does sound kind of like a porn star too. For what it's worth, Bruna Brasil.
You seen that new Bruna Brasil out there?
How could I miss it? Bruna Brasil, coming from the LFA, had a win versus Marnik Man on the Contender Series.
Another great name.
That lady was, she was stocky, dude.
She's a Marnik Man.
She was 5 foot tall and just like a ball, she was jacked, dude. She's a little ball of mass. I'm actually kind of excited for this. I think Bruna Brasil has the potential. Unlike, let's say, the first women's fight, I think Bruna Brasil actually might have some potential to do something in this division. Very dynamic striker, very long for the division, really nice kicks, currently on a 7-fight win streak. I think she'll be able to keep it on the feet and use her kickboxing, and just kind of you go to her game plan, basically. Denise Gomes, her last fight was versus Loma Lukbunmi.
These names are great.
They're crushing me right now.
Yeah.
Another kickboxer, and she was basically dominated the whole fight.
And that's a yo girl. Loma Lukbunmi.
It is I was going to say that until I got a fit of violent gastrointestinal heartburn.
Hey.
It's ruining me.
All right.
Anyways.
Think about this. Just picture this, Dino.
Yeah, I'm also sweating balls because of it. So I'm struggling. And we'll get through this, though. So
we're 2 years down the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in our studio.
Yep.
We got all our beautiful subscribers.
Yep.
We got a ton of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my train of thought. So, forget it. It was a good one though.
Damn,
it was a really
dude,
good
are you
one.
kidding me? That
It was a
whole
really
setup?
good one. Yep.
All right. Anyways, what I was saying is her last fight was versus Luma.
Yeah.
And basically, it's another kickboxer. You know, a little bit of different style of kickboxing, but yeah, I just think these are two very different level fighters.
Yeah.
I think Bruna Brasil has the potential to do something. I'm gonna go with her by finish, probably like TKO. I don't see her like sparking her out cold.
Right.
I guess I could see that too.
I remember.
Yeah, and you can also just see physically too. Like you look at Bruna Brasil, and then you look at Denise Gomes.
Yes.
And one clearly looks like an athlete.
Right.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
I remembered. So we have all that going on.
Uh huh.
You're having your heartburn.
Yep.
Tums ad.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Shout out Tums.
Sponsor us, Tums. Damn.
Right.
I pop them like chiclets, dude.
Let's
I'm
get it.
dying.
Shout out Tums, bro.
I mean, when you're over 30, certainly.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah, that's really all I got for that. I mean, Denise Gomes, you know, she has won 4 of her last 5. She's not like a bad fighter, you know.
She's 23, man. Like
she's super young. Yeah, I just, you know, I don't know, man. I just don't see it, you know. I think if she put up more of an actual fight versus Loma, I would have I would have been more open-minded to this. I just think Bruna Brasil, and especially she trains with like Caio Borralho and like, you know, why am I adding more difficult names to this for myself?
This is interesting group of names.
Yeah.
For this fight.
Yep. I mean, I will say if it goes to the ground, I could see her etching out a win. I just don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, especially the difference in level of athlete. What do you think?
Yeah. So I want to throw another name out there. When it comes to Bruna Brasil, she randomly lost her first pro fight to Ariane Carnelosi.
Oh, really?
And that's really interesting. I just love seeing when these UFC fighters meet each other on the regional scene.
Yep.
Really interesting. But yeah, when I watch these two fight, it's pretty clear that Bruna Brasil is the more technical fighter. She is 29. She has more skills, more developed skills than the 23-year-old in Denise Gomes. That's kind of what I see. At this age and this time in her career, she should win.
Yep.
I'm a little shell-shocked with these high-level women's prospects that are coming in after what we saw, what was it, last week? And what we've been seeing as of late. You know, they've had a tough time, these high-level women's
parlay
prospects.
that I had. I had like 5.
Right at
that
the
was
beginning.
like the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little shell-shocked with those. I have to stick with Bruna Brasil, though. I'll go with decision. Is that what you had?
I said I could see her finishing her.
Okay.
I didn't really, I guess, say for sure one way or another. I was leaning TKO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, decision is probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I'm going 29-28. I'm not super comfy betting it just because it is women's MMA and it's someone we don't know too much about. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll take
But you'll probably bet it anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know how that goes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Moving up the card, it's the 4th fight of the night, and this is an interesting one. Mm-hmm. It's Lando Vannata versus Daniel Zellhuber, who I've seen him fight his last fight, but even then, when I read his name, I'm like, oh, this is a German fella.
Right.
He's Mexican.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Who else was it? Was it last week that we had someone on the card that was like that?
Same thing too, like German, but
yeah. You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm dying. I'm sorry. Not Bahamondes. Was it somebody Bahamondes?
Trey Ogden was fighting Bahamondes, and Trey Ogden fought Daniel Zellhuber.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, so let's start with the groovy Lando Vannata. Flashy, very aggressive striker, powerful kicks. He comes out immediately looking to put damage on. He's not a person that's going to come and, like Adesanya and Pereira, try to get that feel-out round. It's not really his thing. He is legitimately a wild man. He's 4-6 in the UFC. Last time out, he lost to your boy, Charles Jourdain.
I love me some Jourdain.
Yeah, he got caught up in a submission there. He's decent on the ground, though. He can take things there if he needs to. He's going to be fighting Daniel Zellhuber, who's a taller, longer fighter. He may need to use that grappling. Because Daniel Zellhuber is a long-bodied striker, pretty damn dynamic on all fronts, to be honest with you. Yep. He lost his debut to Trey Ogden, who we just saw last week. We see that when he's taken down, he's immediately hunting for submissions. He has really long limbs, long arms, long legs, so he's hunting for them. We haven't seen him get that submission in the UFC, but you know he does have that threat there.
He did just get here. I mean,
right, exactly. So, one fight, correct?
His last fight versus Ogden was his debut, and then he did fight Lucas Almeida on the Contender Series.
Yes.
So.
That Ogden fight was a little weird, though, because he seemed a lot more gun-shy than when we saw him on the Contender Series. Yeah. So I'm hoping...
I think it was just the spamming of the takedowns. Ogden shot, I think, 10 or 11 takedowns on him.
And
I don't see Vannata doing that.
Right. And it could be that. Hopefully, those octagon jitters are gone at this point. He's had some time off. He's 23 years old. You hope to see big improvements in between fights. And he's already impressive. So if this kid improves a little more...
He's also 23.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, 23 years old. You hope to see massive improvements. I believe it's a coin flip in Vegas. Lando Vannata is probably the more refined fighter of the two, as you'd expect with their age discrepancy. I'm going to have to trust the youth here, as I often do. Daniel Zellhuber is super-duper talented. Love to see what he can do and what he can become at 155. I'll take Zellhuber by decision. Maybe I'm optimistic, but 30-27. And let's see what we have in terms of a prospect at 155.
I like it, man. I think that... Yeah, Lando, he likes to stay at range, and Zellhuber kind of likes to do the same. I do think that Zellhuber, in my opinion, actually is the more calm and collected fighter at this point, which is interesting because he's the younger fighter. And Vannata, he's been in the UFC forever. Yeah, he's fought. If you look through the people that he's fought tons of high-level opponents. For me, the 6-inch reach advantage is a big focus too, especially if we're expecting this to be a striking match. I could see Vannata taking him down, and for me, that's really the only way that he could get a win here. I don't see, of course, he could land something really flashy and crazy. I just don't see that happening here. I think Zellhuber is very calm and collected for his age. I think he's the more technical striker, and the fact that he's younger and the fact that he's longer, he's got that 6-inch reach advantage. I'm going to go by Zellhuber. I think he's going to piece him up on the feet. Yeah. I don't think that I could see him finishing him. I think Vannata's smart enough to stay out of the way of the big shots. I'll go Zellhuber. I don't know about 30-27. I'll go 29-28 decision. But
and I do want to just add, if this fight does get to the ground, I know I mentioned this, but Daniel Zellhuber is very, very active in his guard.
Yep.
So
and being that much longer too, that's an advantage, even on the ground.
Agreed.
So, cool. Moving up the card, it's Piera Rodriguez versus Gillian Robertson. And this is an interesting one. So. Very different records. Gillian Robertson is 11-7. Piera Rodriguez is undefeated at 9-0. Gillian Robertson is still only 28, 29, 27?
She's not that old, yeah.
Yeah, she's 27. Piera Rodriguez is actually the older fighter. This one is pretty straightforward to me. I watched some tape on both of them, obviously. For me, the biggest difference here is that Gillian Robertson is the bigger fighter. I think just on tape she just pops as the much bigger, stronger fighter, and I just think her submissions are going to be the difference. You know, I also think the fact that I don't know if you saw, she just grappled versus Rose. Rose Namajunas. On New Year's. Yep, and she got her in the first round with a rear naked choke. So, and then right after that, she's moving down now to strawweight. So. Maybe there's something to that. Yeah. Maybe she felt like, I could beat the champion. Now I'm going to go down and see what I can do against these smaller ladies. Maybe it works against her and it drains her and depletes her more. But I guess I'm going to go with her by submission at the end of the day.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. Because here's the way I see it. To me, this is simple, right? On the feet, Rodriguez is way better than Gillian Robertson. More clean, more technical. Sure. But Gillian Robertson is an absolute dog. She's not going out to a knockout. She's not, you know what I mean? She's not going to get finished. She's too much of a dog. On the ground, the edge goes to Gillian Robertson. If Rodriguez ends up on the ground, I can see Robertson locking up a sub, as you mentioned. I can definitely see Rodriguez winning if it stays on the feet.
Definitely.
But I have to assume that at some point...
I don't think she's that powerful, though, either.
Right. And I have to assume at some point in this fight it does go to the ground. Rodriguez has decent takedowns. She has been getting some takedowns in her fights. She's 2-0 in the UFC. She beat Sam Hughes and Kay Hansen, as you mentioned. Man, I think Gillian Robertson at some point gets her to slip up. And as I have written here, Gillian Robertson via third round. RNC. Third round. Yeah, look.
I thought for sure, I don't know why, I thought you were going to go with Piera here.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like the fight starts on the feet, and if it stays there, as I already said, Rodriguez should win, but I don't know, man. Gillian Robertson, I think she's feeling herself after the Rose Namajunas thing. on New Year's Eve. And I understand that was grappling. And Rose, honestly, not to knock Rose. I love Thug Rose. She looked like a shell of herself at that moment.
Yep.
But yeah, man, maybe Gillian Robertson's feeling herself and she's feeling froggy and she can make a little bit of a run here.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it. Mm-hmm. I'm down, even though her record is not good. But doesn't really mean a lot these days in these women's divisions, especially the lighter weight classes. So, in any case, moving on to the sixth fight of the night, and this one is very, very interesting to me. Mm-hmm. It's two older fellas, Ed Herman at 42 years old, taking on Zak Cummings, who's 38 years old. This is, of course, at light heavyweight. Did you go first on the last one? Did I go first?
You did.
All right, you want to tell me what you think about this one?
Sure. So, Ed Herman, Zak Cummings. Let's start with Ed Herman, 42 years old, going for his 40th pro MMA fight here. Looking at his record, random enough, back in 2005, he has a win against Glover Teixeira, the former champ.
I saw that.
Yeah, 13-11 in the UFC, which is absolutely crazy. Last time out, lost to Alonzo Menafield. He's a very solid grappler, decent submission skills.
If I got my ass kicked half the time I was in the UFC, I don't know that I would stay, but good on him.
Sorry, I had to do that. All right. So, yeah, solid grappler, decent sub skills, old vet, well-rounded pretty much everywhere you go. Zak Cummings, here's the thing with him. 2 years off. 2-year layoff. For a guy who's 38.
I don't love that.
Yeah, and he's a minus 250 favorite in this fight.
Yeah, the odds on this are crazy. I was looking for I saw the odds on that. This is one of the only fights I saw the odds on as I was watching the tape.
Yeah,
I was looking for a reason as to why to pick Zak Cummings.
Right.
Like when I was like, why is it that much? He is the faster fighter probably.
Right.
And at this point, Ed Herman's slow as shit.
Right. Agreed.
So, but anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, Zak Cummings 2 years off, and he's a minus 250 favorite here, coming off a serious back injury.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why he was off for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So at 38 years old with
That's
a
crazy
bad
that
back,
didn't come back.
Yeah, minus 250 is kind of wild. Watching the film, as you mentioned, Zak Cummings is definitely the faster fighter. There's not too much more to separate these guys, and it's not like he's that much younger. He's 38, 38 to 42. I don't think there's too much of a difference in MMA with that. I have to trust Zak Cummings because of what I've seen on the film, but I don't want anything to do with this as far as betting is concerned. I will not part with my money. I expect this to be really slow-paced. I expect it to be a really sloppy fight for 3 rounds. I want to see the props when they drop. I haven't seen them yet. Maybe they have dropped, but I expect a decision either way. If I was going to bet, I would bet goes the distance on this fight.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't see a finish, but I'll trust Zak Cummings to get the decision here.
Dude. One thing I notice is these dudes have absolutely granite chins. Every single fight, these guys are both taking violent shots, and they're just not going down. From big-ass dudes at 205, they're just I was tripping off that. So that's, for me, the biggest thing is nobody's getting knocked out in this fight.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them has, at this stage of their career, the explosiveness to knock the other out with the way that their chins are set up. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's really tough. They look like the same damn guy to me,
right?
On tape.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? Zak Cummings a little faster. One thing that I think Ed Herman is definitely better at, and if he's going to win this fight, I think he's going to win it in the clinch.
Yeah. He's
really good in the clinch. He's got some nasty elbows, and he gets right to it. I mean, he grabs you, and he's a strong dude, too. So, I think if Ed Herman has a chance to win this, it'll definitely be in the clinch. If Zak Cummings is going to win, I think it'll be with just being the faster guy to the punch.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think I see this going to the distance either way. I think Zak Cummings is the more crisp striker, and I also do think that he has fought the better competition at this point in the last couple of years, even with the time off.
Yeah.
He has a win against Trevin Giles. He has a win against Alessio Di Chirico last time, and he was beating him up pretty bad by the end of that fight. Mm-hmm. He also survived versus Amari Akhmedov. So, I mean, competition-wise, I guess, throughout their careers, he's fought the better competition. In any case, even being the younger fighter. So, like you said, I'm not betting on this. I would say it's going to go to decision either way, but I guess I will lean Zak Cummings slightly. Mm-hmm. Should the odds be 2-1? I don't think so.
Right, agreed.
So, cool. Moving up, and here's one that's absolutely bizarre that you go from Ed Herman and Zak Cummings to Brandon Royval and Matheus Nicolau.
How the hell are 2 top 5 ranked guys on the prelims of this card, of a fight night?
Yeah, it's a very, very bizarre setup overall to me, to be honest. I really don't get it. So I guess I'll go first on this one.
Yep.
2 really high-level fighters in general.
Yep.
Brandon Royval, long for the division, has really spent the last couple years just fighting the top of the division. This is the first time that we've seen him in a while fight somebody like on the up and up, I guess if you want to call Matheus Nicolau that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one to me is really a question of the power of Matheus Nicolau at the flyweight weight class, which you don't see a ton of it. But, man, he drops people. He drops people like legit. I do think that Royval is not a schlub on the feet by any means, but I think that if it gets to the ground, Royval has the more distinct advantage here.
Okay.
And but the only thing with Royval for me is we've seen him get dropped a lot recently.
Yeah.
We've seen him get dropped against
his last fight.
Why am I blanking here? Who did he?
Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell.
Bontarine.
Oh, Rogerio Bontarine.
Yeah, Bontarine. We've seen him get dropped versus Schnell. Mm-hmm. So, getting dropped at this weight class multiple times, like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 fights at 125 versus a guy who, in my opinion, is a legit power puncher in the weight class. Does he have the output of Royval? Probably not. I mean, I could see Royval landing more strikes, but Matheus Nicolau being the one that lands the more impactful shots. I'm going to go Matheus Nicolau. I could see him knocking him out, to be honest. Yeah. I really could. Or dropping him and then, going for a submission.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go by decision. I'll go by decision. I'll go 29-28 for Matheus Nicolau on this one.
Interesting. Brandon Royval, as you mentioned, very relentless, always hunting finishes, wild as hell, which is why he does, tend to get clipped and put down sometimes. Check this out, though. He's 4-2 in the UFC. All but one of those fights have been by finish.
Yep.
So, killer be killed. Matheus Nicolau, absolute killer. Technique on the feet is super damn crispy. Everything is calculated. I may be the only person in the world, Dino, if you remember his last fight out, that was against Matt both of their last fights were against Matt Schnell, which is interesting. But I hated how he fought that fight, and he ended up getting a finish, but I just hated it.
Maybe, against Matt Schnell?
Yeah, maybe it was because I had bet on Matt Schnell. Yep. But he was just picking at him and backing away. It seemed cowardly.
It did. Schnell was definitely the aggressor, and he was beating him up a little bit. Yeah.
But, anyways, whatever. Everything.
Schnell just, gassed himself out.
Yeah, and then
he got out of a... And then he literally was Schnell was just kind of hanging out on the ground, and Royval was oh, okay.
Not the Royval fight.
Nicolau. Sorry. I apologize.
I'm talking about the Matheus Nicolau fight. I was at the Matt
versus Schnell, you're saying.
Yes. Royval versus Schnell was at 274.
Yep.
And Nicolau and Schnell fought recently.
Yeah.
It was the Matheus Nicolau fight that really bothered me.
Okay.
Because he just kept poking at him and running away. But anyways, I know that sounds crazy. People are going to get mad at that. Yeah. I don't mean to, down talk him at all. That just bothered me personally.
Sure.
The skills the Matheus Nicolau's skill set is absolutely insane. Everything he does is super calculated. I think this should be fight of the night, potentially. We could be looking at that. I assume Royval's going to push forward, trying to apply pressure as he always does. Maybe he'll try some takedowns. I feel like Nicolau's going to be able to remain standing, stuff the takedowns. And if that's where we end up, his technique is better than Brandon Royval's. He's the crispier striker. So I have to take Matheus Nicolau via finish, maybe, in round 3. That's what I was thinking. Same thing you said. Maybe he drops him and then gets a sub or potentially ground and pound TKO after that.
Yeah. But you don't see a ton of ground and pounds at flyweight, which is interesting.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm trying to think about it now, and I can't. But yeah.
Well, it's on the moment. It's
right. Matheus Nicolau round 3 finish for sure. Huge title implications. 2 top 5 guys in the division here.
Yep, and I think it would be interesting to see Matheus Nicolau a little bit of fresh. I mean, he's not that fresh, new, right? But a newer contender, true contender, I think would be good to see. So, but Brandon Royval obviously always dangerous.
Yep.
So, moving up to the 8th fight of the night, we're barely halfway through. It's TJ Brown versus, I would say this is my boy, Bill Algeo.
Bill Algeo.
Yep, I really like Bill Algeo. What do you think about this one, my friend?
Downtown TJ Brown versus Bill Algeo. All right, let's start with Algeo. 3-3 in the UFC. They're both 3-3 in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Last time out, he lost to Andre Touchy-Feely.
I love that.
It's a great name.
I love that.
Bill Algeo is a striker, good footwork, solid head movement. Not the greatest power, but it's all right. He is very high output, which I do enjoy. He gets touched a lot, a decent amount, I would say.
Bill Algeo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
The term that I've been using a ton, he gets brawly.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily love that, but he is solid on the ground. He's a black belt, so he does have some knowledge, in the jiu-jitsu game. But he does seem very easy to be taken down. On the other hand, downtown TJ Brown, also 3-3 in the UFC. Last time out, defeated Eric Silva, a high motor guy, another solid striker, pretty damn good grappling. He's going to shoot a ton of times. He's very relentless when it comes to the takedowns. His striking is mostly used to set up his shots, and he's going to continuously just go for them.
Definitely.
I disagree with the odds makers here, man. A guy that gets taken down easily versus a guy that shoots a ton seems like a recipe for disaster. Give me downtown TJ Brown via decision.
Man, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one, my friend.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he's a my boy, but I think I'm very confident picking Bill Algeo on this one. He's a guy that, to me, he doesn't do anything like superbly, but he's damn good at everything. And he's a guy kind of like Merab that weaponizes cardio.
Yeah.
He's absolutely relentless, doesn't stop. He's one of the funnest fighters for me to watch, I think, in the UFC, to be honest. He's got really technical striking. I feel like he's stronger than Brown. I feel like, TJ Brown at times can overwhelm fighters with his takedowns and with his ground game. I feel like Bill Algeo is savvy enough to kind of outlast that. Also, Bill Algeo has got some balls, man. Do you remember the fight versus Herbert Burns?
Yes.
Okay, he just refused to tap to that arm bar, and I don't know. To me that means something. I don't know. I feel like that's very impressive.
It definitely means something.
I'm just saying the dude's got balls and he can take some pain. So I don't know. I feel like to me his takedown defense has improved over his last couple fights. I don't think he's like an elite wrestler by any means or anything like that. But I think he's gonna land consistently, and I think he'll just do the more damage. I'm going to go 30-27, Bill Algeo.
Senor Perfecto. Bill Algeo versus downtown TJ Brown.
Amazing
Some good names.
Yep.
As you look on Tapology, the fight that you just mentioned versus Herbert Burns, they have that as a win via exhaustion from damage.
Wait, what?
If you win exhaustion from damage.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Never seen
I also thought he could have won the Feely fight, personally. I thought, Feely won it, but it was really, really
You ever been so damaged that you're exhausted?
Brother, every day.
Every day. That's my life, man. Exhaustion from damage. That's dope.
Yep.
Shout out Herbert Burns, bro.
Herbie Burns.
Herbie Burns.
Internal damage, for sure. Moving up to the 9th fight of the card, it is ya boy, Clay Guida.
1000%.
Versus 38-22, Clay Guida, which is an absolutely insane record. Versus Rafa Garcia. What do you think about this one, man?
Clay Guida, man, the ageless wonder, right?
Yeah.
38-22, 18-16 in the UFC.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Ridiculous.
There was like a 2 years time span where I forgot he
just existed.
Still existed, yeah. And then 2020, I was like, oh,
Clay Guida's here. And then he's just beating people.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
He had no business winning his last fight.
High motor. We know what Clay Guida wants to do. Oh my God,
the definition of high motor.
We know what he wants to do. He's a wrestler.
If you're newer to MMA, just do yourself a favor and go watch the fight versus Diego Sanchez.
Yeah.
And Clay Guida. If you want to watch an absolutely insane fight. If you're not squeamish, that is.
Right. He has I forget what other fight it was. He has a super bloody fight.
Dude, he had a 5-year span. He all he did is bleed and work his ass off.
Yeah, and just fight people. The hair always gets
everywhere. Shit. It's kind of like Ric Flair back in the day.
I love it, dude. It's crazy.
It's just gushing, just purely red.
By the way, Clay Guida from Chicago. Forgot to mention that.
Yep.
Anyways, we know he's a wrestler. He has hands. He has a great chin as well.
He doesn't care to wrestle, though, necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
But, dude, you've been in the UFC for 1,000 years. He's good everywhere.
Yeah.
He's, 42 years old?
Yeah, 41.
That's the knock on Clay Guida.
At a much lighter weight class than the last fellas that we were talking about at that age, in that age group.
Realistically, that's the only knock on Clay Guida. If this was...
Well, and he was never...
No, he's never the best. But he fought some of the top guys. No not some, a ton of the top guys.
He never had a title. He never even... The closest he got, I think, was like a title elimination bout. Who was that against? He has a win over Michael Johnson recently. Like Clay Guida, you never know what you're gonna get with Clay Guida.
He beat Scott Holtzman. Unbelievable. Anyways, I absolutely love Clay Guida. There's not too much to say. We know what we're getting out of Clay Guida. As far as Rafa Garcia is concerned, decent striking ability, but he is a grappler. Very dangerous with the power. It's weird because he has very good striking, but I feel he is a grappler at his core.
Who?
Rafa Garcia. Now, his UFC losses have come to Drakkar Klose, Chris Gerdeschmacher, and Nasrat Haqparast, all via decision. Very tough to finish, and that's pretty good competition.
Yep.
I feel at this point in his career, Rafa Garcia should be able to beat a 41, 42-year-old Clay Guida. Minus 225 seems a bit wide to me, so I'm not going to be betting it, nor will I ever bet against Clay Guida.
Yep, I agree. I feel that.
But 41 versus 28, the MMA math, sometimes it don't be mathin', but sometimes it do be mathin'. And 41 versus 28 is a little wild. I got to take the 28-year-old and hope I'm wrong, just like last week. And, yeah.
Yeah, you're saying by decision?
Yeah, Rafa Garcia by decision.
30-27?
Sure. I don't have it written down, but 29-28. I'm not... Yep. He's not blanking him. I don't think he's blanking him.
No, I don't see it. I mean, the last 4 times that Clay Guida's been finished was in the first round.
I meant blanking him on the scorecards.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But he ain't starching him either.
Yeah. 4 of the last 5. I don't know the lingo you kids use these days.
Us kids?
Yeah.
I'm a month older than you.
4 of the last 5 times that Guida's been finished was in the first round. I don't really see that happening, though. Garcia does have some power, man, and he's definitely the much more explosive and dangerous fighter. On the feet, he should have no issues. My only concern is... Get the fuck away from me. What is this thing? This little creature. My only concern is that as the fight goes on, Clay Guida gets stronger. Yeah. So is Rafa Garcia ready for that? I think he needs to... If he's going to win a decision, he needs to win the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Because if it's close in that second round and, he starts gassing... Not that Rafa Garcia's looked like a guy that gasses out... I still think he's got it. I'm going to go 29-28. I think he wins the first 2 rounds and loses that last round by just Clay Guida being absolutely relentless. I could see him sparking him out in the first round. I just, it takes a lot to do that to Clay Guida.
Yeah.
So.
And to be fair, the last time Clay Guida was finished was Claudio Pajeles. And that was just, Claudio
that's a different
Pajeles
type of guy, yeah.
And that's a grappler that's just relentless with that. He's like, I don't like the way he fights. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a fan. Claudio Pajeles.
Yeah.
I don't like how he fights. It's all... He's like a... I don't know. He's like Ryan Hall. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if he's quite like that, but I feel you. Yeah. He's a specialist.
Right.
Yeah. Moving... Are you good to move on there?
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on to... This was definitely at one point on my boy. I don't know if he still is, but Pedro Munhoz versus Chris Gutierrez. This is this should be a banger, to be honest. To me, this is the battle of the new age leg kicks versus the battle of the old leg kicks. I feel like Pedro Munhoz is one of the people say it's who Miller that kind of brought in the leg kick originally, but Benson Henderson too.
Yeah,
but Pedro Munhoz is definitely one of those guys too, a pioneer of the
nasty leg kick,
of the nasty low leg kick. To me, this is a really tough one, man. I think that Pedro Munhoz definitely has the tools to win.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see who can implement those leg kicks more. I actually like his jiu-jitsu better than I do Chris Gutierrez's ground game.
Yeah.
Sometimes Pedro Munhoz gets a little too boxy and a little too brawly.
It is.
There you go. You said it.
Yeah.
Dude, he's the definition of.
Yeah.
And he can be a very technical boxer, but he literally swings from here. He just starts absolutely wailing at times, and he's knocked he's knocked out some people like that for sure. The decision making, even though he's the older fighter by a good amount, That's the one thing. If he starts headhunting, I think Chris Gutierrez is going to piece him up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, minus 200, I think, were the odds, right, for Chris Gutierrez?
No idea.
Minus 220. Should they be that far? I mean, he's also not that much younger. He's only 5 years younger,
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, man, but I guess... I don't think he's going to stop Munhoz, but I do think that Gutierrez wins. I'm going to go 29-28 on this one.
Okay.
Just more than anything by output.
Okay, here's my thing. I don't know what to do with this fight because on the one hand, you have Pedro Munhoz, who last time out was beating Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Big time.
He was winning that fight.
He was winning that fight.
Until the eventual eye poke.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I to say how you feel after an eye poke? But it seemed like he just kind of was like, you know what? This may not be going where I want it to go, or I may be getting a little tired and I don't want to get touched up by this kid. But he was beating Sean O'Malley in a kickboxing fight for 7 minutes or whatever it was until that eye poke happened.
Yep. Yeah, that was crazy, man.
So,
people forget that.
That kind of like throws me off. Because it's like
I want to go with Munhoz here. I just, I don't know. I just the fact that he gets a little wild.
Right. So, but here's my thought process with that, right? It's like you're beating Sean O'Malley.
Why would you back out?
In a kickboxing fight, and you gave up.
And you're the way, shorter.
Way shorter, yeah.
Way shorter fighter.
And Sean O'Malley's number 2
in
the world right now in his division. So that kind of weirds me out. Then on the other hand, you have Chris Gutierrez, who's younger. He seems hungrier. He seems like he's on his way up. Like, I want to pick Pedro Munhoz, but that backing out of that fight just, like, kind of sits wrong.
Like, mentally, it's a weird...
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe he's kind of on his way out. Maybe he doesn't have, like, that dog in him anymore. And that's crazy to say about a guy that's fighting in the UFC and a guy with his background. And a guy that's been doing it. But I have to stick with Gutierrez, man. Probably decision. I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks him out towards the end of the fight. He just looks like he's on a tear. He hasn't lost since 2018. Yep. Maybe it's his time, and Pedro, maybe it's his time on the other end. Maybe he's on his way out.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll go with Chris, man. Chris Gutierrez.
I like it, though I don't feel super strongly one way or another. So, all right, moving on to the next fight on the card. It's Ion Cutelaba versus Tanner Boser in the light heavyweight division. Would you like to take this one first?
Sure, thank you. All right, Tanner Boser moved down to 205, which is why you prefaced with the light heavyweight division.
Hence
the light heavyweight division. Excited to see what he could do here, man. Opened as a favorite, and now he is the underdog, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, is he now?
Yes.
What's the odds on that?
I don't know, but they're swinging, brother. They are swinging and banging. Anyways, he was always a small guy at heavyweight, so this may be the right class for him, the right weight class for him.
He looks much more handsome
than before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he looks great. Lost a ton of weight. Shout out Tanner Boser and his diet.
Good for you, bro. You look great, my guy.
You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm super down. But yeah, he would kind of get bullied by the bigger heavyweights, but he would always stand and bang. Is able to take a shot. So interested to see what he could do at 205. On the other hand, we have Ion Cutelaba. I am completely done with Ion Cutelaba. I am so sick of him.
He's so annoying. I feel like that guy he must have been a bully.
Yeah. First of all, he looks mean. Let's just
mean-ass guy.
Right.
How you mean and you're a ginger?
Right, and then you have no chin.
No chin.
So, like, whatever.
And you're jacked.
Yeah.
And no chin.
Yeah, I don't get it. He's either great or terrible. One of the two. Yes, he has good power. Yes, he has pretty good wrestling. But he has no chin, as I mentioned. He gets slumped all the time. My absolute 100% my boy, Kennedy Nzechukwu, last time out, sparked him out with that knee, which was gratifying in so many ways. Sent him to the Shadow Realm. He has lost 5 out of his last 6 fights against great competition, but it's not a good look. I'm going to take the dog in Tanner Boser here, man.
He got that dog in him.
That he does. He's used to guys that are much bigger than Cutelaba, much stronger than Cutelaba. I don't see Ion Cutelaba finishing Tanner Boser, who has actually a great chin. Give me Boser by TKO. As I mentioned, Cutelaba gets chinned, and I think we see that again. I think Tanner Boser makes a statement, and he's ready to fight dudes towards the bottom end of that top 15 at 205, man. And by the way, one more thing about Tanner Boser. Great mullet.
Great
you don't
mullet.
see too many mullets in the UFC anymore. Good mullet.
Absolutely. Good Canadian mullet.
There we go.
Yeah, man. Ian Cutelaba has all the looks, right? You look at the guy, he looks terrifying.
Yeah.
Maybe just because he does this all the time.
Yeah.
If I did this all the time, if I did this on this podcast this whole time, you'd be like, that guy's...
Who's this guy?
He's a tough guy. Like, he's a mean asshole. At some point, it's got to start catching up with you. You get finished every fucking fight.
Yeah.
It's got to catch up with you at some point.
Agreed.
Also, Tanner Boser is no joke. He's got some heat in his hands, especially having been a former heavyweight. I can relate to that, having been even when I was a big ass boy, and then I got to not be such a big ass boy. I still felt like I had that power.
Yeah.
Didn't have any speed still, but Tanner Boser, I don't think Cutelaba should be the faster fighter here, should be the more athletic guy, but Tanner Boser is low key not.
He's pretty athletic.
Yeah. I think Cutelaba's only real way to win this fight, or the most likely way to win this fight, would be to get it to the ground. Mm-hmm. I know he's been doing judo since he was like a kid, since he was like 10 years old, 15 years old, something like that. But he never really tries to use it that much, Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he even has, he's done some combat sambo. I just don't see it, man. I'm really, really worried about that chin. And we've seen Boser spark out some heavyweights. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. I think he could put him out cold with, a single punch, to be honest. Yeah. But probably most likely is exactly what you said, TKO. I could see him catching him and then beating him up on the ground for a TKO.
Yeah. I'm with it. I hope so. I like Tanner Boser.
I wanted to. I want to pick Cutelaba, right?
Yeah.
He's not.
I get
he's
it.
not.
That I get.
He's not that. He's not a bad fighter.
No, and he loses to good guys. He loses to good guys.
He does, yeah. And I exactly that. But it's but dude, you're getting finished by all these guys badly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. He's Romanian.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cutelaba. Okay, I didn't know that.
No.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. Tanner Boser, and just the record's not great at this point. He came in with a pretty damn good record in the UFC, and just is compiling losses. Like you said, it's a good competition, but where do you draw the line, man? Tanner Boser can spark you out.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving up to the third to last fight on the card, another fight at 205, 2 in a row we got. It's Dustin Jacoby versus Azamat Murzakanov. I'll let you start with this one.
Cool. Dustin Jacoby, let's start there. Very high-level kickboxer. Former Glory kickboxer. There's points where he's been ranked in the top 5 in kickboxing.
Head,
yeah.
Look at that dome. That's a square head. It looks like a Roblox character.
As far as the stand-up is concerned, good volume, good power, great technique, obviously, as you would expect someone coming from that world that he came from. I want to like Dustin Jacoby as a my boy, but I don't know enough about him as a person.
Sure.
But I do really enjoy his fight style.
Yeah.
If this fight stays on the feet, he should be able to beat the much shorter fighter in Azamat Murzakanov. If he gets taken down, which is no easy task, he does have good takedown defense, then he may struggle there. Even though we haven't seen that. We haven't seen him struggling, that is. I forget which fight it was, but he was taken down a bunch of times in one of his UFC fights and ended up winning that fight. Let's move on to Azamat Murzakanov. Super fast, great hands, really good power, but he is very, very short for the division. For 185, I believe he's 5'9".
Undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. He beat Tafanda Dunn in his UFC debut with a nasty flying knee. He was losing that fight, though. He didn't look as impressive then, nor did he look as impressive in his second UFC fight as he did on the Contender Series.
I think that's the biggest thing with him.
Yeah.
Is on paper, he has a last name that ends in OV.
Yeah.
He looks like a tough-ass guy.
Yeah.
Big, he's not big for the division, but jack
stocky.
Stocky, yeah. And he's winning fights. He's undefeated, but... Yeah. I don't know. He doesn't pass the eye test.
Right. And he doesn't have the grappling that you would, if you were lazy, you would assume he has the grappling.
No, you would. Of course you would.
But he is a stand-up guy. I have a hard time picking him here. Can he get a knockout? Of course Murzakanov can get a knockout. As I mentioned, his hands are stupid fast, and he has serious, serious power. Being a small guy at 85, he has serious power. But against a striker the caliber of Dustin the Hanyak Jacoby, I don't know that he allows a fighter that much shorter than him to get in range to land that knockout blow. Yeah. I'm taking Dustin Jacoby via decision, 29-28. I assume it's going to be a stand-up fight, and if that's the case, over the course of 15 minutes, I see the Hanyak coming out on top.
Yep. I agree with you, man. I agree with you, and I agree it's going to be by decision, too. Pretty much everything you said. Murzakanov has all the right things on paper, has the name, has the undefeated record. Yeah, I think the height is going to be a big difference. Mm-hmm. I do think that while Murzakanov may have the more power,
yeah, he does.
He does throw a lot of looping. He likes to throw a looping left. I feel like the guys that he's beaten in the last couple of fights have distinct weaknesses, like Achilles heels, if that makes sense. I will say that the Devin Clark win is very impressive.
Yeah, but we talked about Devin Clark.
Yeah, he's another guy that's
was that the Derek Lewis card with all the Asian prospects on it? Devin Clark is such a weird guy, right? Because you never know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
So I agree with you. I get where you're coming from is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's just was that the good Devin Clark or was that the shitty Devin Clark, for the lack of a better term? And maybe it was the good one. Murzakanov definitely can cause problems. But I just think at, 5'9" at middleweight?
Dude, yeah.
It's dude, you better go down to 170 because, this is a ranked fight. I believe he's ranked. Yeah. And I know Dustin Jacoby is ranked. I think this is 15 versus 13.
Not middleweight, by the way, light heavyweight.
205?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. Jeez, and I keep saying 85, 205. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's even crazier.
It's even worse, yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Jacoby, I believe, is ranked 15th at 205. And Murzakanov, I think, is 15, and Dustin Jacoby's 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Man, at 205, that's crazy. 5'9".
That is
Yuri Prohashka, Jamal Hill. We just saw Alex Pereira last weekend. He's 6'4".
Yep.
He's moving up. What are you going to do at the top of that division if you get there?
Yeah.
I
don't think he gets there.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, definitely. Mm-hmm. Outside of a flash KO, because I could see Murzakanov. Anybody can catch anybody, and he's a strong dude. I just think that Jacoby is. He's obviously longer. I think Jacoby. We've seen his cardio more tested too. I'm concerned about Murzakanov's cardio, especially a guy at 5'9". How do you fare against a guy who's just as athletic as you, but is longer as
5 inches taller?
Exactly. I don't know. I think he's going to have problems, man. I think he gets a little bit exposed here, almost. You know? I just don't see him keeping pace with him. Jacoby's the more experienced kickboxer, too.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to stay on the feet. I see Jacoby winning it, too, by decision.
Cool.
Moving up to the co-main event. It's Edson Barboza versus Billy Quarantillo. Man, what do you think about this one? This is going to be a banger for sure.
Yeah. Edson Barboza, man. Let's start with him. Is there anything that needs to be said about Edson Barboza? Is there anything that we can learn about Edson Barboza at this point in his career?
No, I think that he's on the downswing at this point. I think he's a distinct downswing of his career, and not taking anything away, God forbid. But yeah, that's the only thing I'll say. But yeah, go ahead.
Anyways, we've seen him fight literally everybody on the planet already. Nasty kicks. Highlight reel is unreal. The striking technique is damn near perfect as far as the technique is concerned.
He's a legendary striker.
Right. He is very good on the ground, too. He's no schlub there at all. There's a reason that he has fought everybody, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this list. Bryce Mitchell, Giga Chikadze, Shane Burgos, Dan Ige, Paul Felder, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Kevin Lee, Habib, Benil, Gilbert Melendez, Anthony Pettis, Tony Ferguson, Paul Felder again, Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, Cowboy Cerrone. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely, man.
That is absolutely ridiculous to have fought all of those guys.
How old is he now?
Edson Barboza.
30.
Let's take a look.
8?
He is 37.
37. Okay.
37 years old. Man. Ridiculous.
In a tough weight class.
Absolute legend. And then Billy Quarantillo, mostly a grappler, solid enough striking to get the job done. The fight against Shane Burgos, unbelievably amazing. If you haven't seen it or don't remember that, guys, please go check it out. That fight is an absolute banger.
Yep.
It would have been voted in the Fight of the Year category. However, it was immediately following Gaethje versus Chandler. and like the air had been sucked out of the arena at that point. So like I even remember sitting at home after I'm a huge Michael Chandler fan, and Justin Gaethje is obviously, I've mentioned multiple times, the most exciting fighter in the UFC. They went to war, and I just remember being so like out of it, sitting at home, just kind of like just drained.
Yeah.
That like I was watching this fight, but I wasn't taking it in. And then I just remember at some point, like late in the second round, I was like, Jesus Christ, like these guys are going to war, and there was no reaction from anyone. It was crazy. Anyways, Billy Q, if he wants to win this fight, his best method is probably taking Edson Barboza down, because I don't think he's winning a striking or a kickboxing fight straight up, 15 minutes of kickboxing against Edson Barboza. He himself is saying this week in the media that this is going to be the toughest fight of his life. This is the toughest opponent of his life. I'm going to have to stick with the old dog here, man. Give me Edson Barboza, either by a late finish or a 29-28 decision. I don't think Billy Q has the ability to handle Barboza and take him down and hold him there for 3 rounds. And also, watching Barboza on media day, he seems super confident. He seems reinvigorated. He seems fresh and, optimistic. And yeah, man, I'm taking Edson Barboza, dude. And I do like Billy Q. I know a bunch of diehard MMA fans love Billy Q, but give me Edson.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. This was like, I kept going back and forth on this one. I'm still kind of going back and forth. Billy Q is obviously the younger fighter, the better wrestler, I would say, not necessarily better on the ground. My concern with Barboza is he has looked like I was saying earlier, like he's definitely on a noticeable downswing, and when it happens quickly in this sport.
Yes.
Right? So that's my concern is, was the last couple fights the beginning of the end? If it was, I would lean Billy Q.
Yeah.
Billy Q is a guy who is not the most athletically gifted, not the most naturally gifted UFC fighter, period. But there's a reason that he's fighting Edson Barboza right now.
Sure.
It's because of his pressure. He puts on the pressure like crazy. He's not the most powerful striker. He's not the most refined striker. So, but I do think that he's pretty good everywhere. He's pretty good in the clinch, too. I think his biggest weapon is his pressure. Yeah. So, the lack of athleticism is a bit of a concern. Maybe it would be even more of a concern against a younger fighter. He's got a really good chin. My only concern with Billy, or one of my biggest concerns with Billy Q, is that he gets hit a lot. Yeah. Very hittable. Very hittable. And we saw that versus Burgos, too. Man, this is tough. This is really tough, because it's like, will Billy Q be able to put on enough pressure? If it's on the feet, Barboza looked a little gun-shy. He looked a little hesitant to throw some things in his last fight, too. So, it's tough, man. It's tough. I'm going to go Billy Q just through sheer willpower and pressure, inking out the decision 29-28. I think he loses the first round.
Okay. I just want to mention that for Edson Barboza, his last 2 fights were losses against Bryce Mitchell and Giga Chikadze. The Giga one, of course, was the main event, where he was finished in the 3rd round. And then last time out, he lost the decision to Bryce Mitchell. My thing is, like, there is absolutely no shame in losing to Giga Chikadze. Let's start there. And then when it comes to Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell,
your boy,
he is a very high-level grappler.
Yeah, it's not a good matchup.
So, is Billy Q the level of grappler of Bryce Mitchell? I don't think so.
No, but I think he's a better striker.
But is he, and he's clearly not the level striker of Giga Chikadze.
No, but I think he's a better grappler.
Right. So it is interesting. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to learn a lot about Billy Q here. I don't think we have much to learn about Edson Barboza, to be honest with you.
Certainly not.
So let's find out. I'm interested to see how this fight plays out.
Very interested. And again, that's one I've been flipping back and forth on.
Yeah.
So I could see it going either way. I'm going to go Billy Q for now, but, moving on to the main event of the evening. It is Max Holloway.
Sponsored by
Topo Chico. Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. And, man, this is exciting. This is an exciting fight. I guess I'll go first on this one.
Yeah, that's how I hit 6 in a row.
Because I went first?
Yeah. We're keeping that going.
Did I go first on all of them?
You went first every one of them for the 6 that I hit in a row.
Wow, we have to then.
Let's keep it going.
By the way, my great aunt told me not to ever knock down. You got to knock up.
Knock up on
so it goes up.
Yeah. What goes up?
Hopefully it won't come down.
Ever.
Listen, man, I genuinely think that this is going to be a true return to form for Max Holloway.
Okay.
I see him putting on a boxing clinic. I see him beating the shit out of Arnold Allen on the feet, to be honest, for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not, certainly not to the level that he beat, like, who was it Calvin Kattar? No.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, that was, like, I don't think like that.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's going to beat him up. Also, one thing that needs to be mentioned, Arnold Allen breaks his hand every fight.
Yes.
He breaks his hand every single fight, every single MMA, like,
it's
influencer, guy that watches MMA, everybody that is like a distinct, like, true fan of the sport, like, really is in it, knows if one thing's for certain is that Arnold Allen's going to break his goddamn hand.
That's the certainty.
Every single fight. Every single fight.
Yeah.
So, against Max Holloway, if you're down a hand, Max Holloway's going to beat the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see this going any other way. I think this is going to be a true return to form. Would it be nice to have a new contender? Sure. I love Max Holloway. I'm going to go Max Holloway by maybe 50-45 decision.
Jeez. We saw Max Holloway at T-Mobile, by the way, which was really cool.
Well, we saw him at Aria.
And at Aria.
Yeah, he walked literally right by us. We said what up to him at Aria.
So, obviously, I love Max Holloway. He's a certified R-boy, I think.
Absolutely.
That's clear. Anyways, I've hit 6 in a row. I'm going for 7. Let's do this.
Don't tell me you're going Arnold Allen.
Listen to me.
Don't tell me you're going
Arnold Allen.
Don't tell me.
I just got to say this.
Please.
Arnold Allen has all the tools in this division to be a champion in the near-ish future.
Yeah.
Good striking, good frame, pretty damn good power. Even though he lacks the finishes.
Yeah.
You'll see a finish his last fight, but that's not really a finish. That was a knee injury.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. He deserves this main event spot. He deserves his chance at the top of the division versus a former champion in Max Holloway. Great matchmaking by the UFC.
Amazing.
Max Holloway, his last time out against Alexander Volkanovski, got absolutely outclassed, which I never thought we would see from Max Holloway.
Me neither, because I thought he won the second fight.
Right. Anyways, before that, there has been times where Max Holloway has looked unbeatable, where he has looked like the best fighter on the planet. Crazy pace, relentless as hell. And you mentioned the Calvin Kattar fight. I'll throw in the Yair Rodriguez fight, which was an absolute war.
Even the Poirier fight.
The Poirier fights were good. You look back to the Ortega fights. Like, there are times where it's like, dude, this guy looks unbelievable. Max is 31 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe his body's a little older than 31 after, the fights that he's been in. But we act like he's 50. I feel like people are acting like Max Holloway's 50.
Not me.
At one point, that indestructible chin, Dino, of Max Holloway is going to go.
Yeah.
And he is eventually going to slow down. The pace will slow down. I see a future where he is like Tony Ferguson. But.
Stop.
But.
No way.
What do we say to death? What do we say to death?
Not today.
Not today, baby. Arnold Allen, I'm sorry, bro. It ain't happening this week.
Let's
is
go.
Not the time.
I was nervous if you were going to
He is a decision fighter, Dino. Arnold Allen is a decision fighter. You ain't beating Max over 5. Nobody does
If it was 3, I would maybe consider it.
Right. I would consider it heavily because I think Arnold Allen wins the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And then I think Max Holloway, as you mentioned it, puts on that clinic. I'm going Max Holloway 48-47. They say to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yep.
And the best is blessed.
Absolutely.
You feel me?
Absolutely. Maybe I take it back. Maybe not 50-45.
I just don't see Arnold Allen pushing that pace for 25 minutes.
There's no way.
It can't happen. It can't happen.
But I'll say 49-46.
Let's get it. 49-46, 48-47. We got a decision going to Max, right?
Yep.
So we're in agreement there.
Absolutely.
The best is blessed. I'm trying to push this win streak to 7. I am scared shitless for next week as we see rising heavyweight contender Sergey Pavlovich take on an absolute my boy and Chicago's own Curtis Razor Blades.
I know who I'm picking there.
That fight scares the shit out of me.
Because are you going to go with your boy?
I am pumped. I'm feeling hot. We're gonna figure it out next week.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. And you guys will know when that video is out next week because you're going to click that little bell down there and you're going to press subscribe and a little notification is going to pop up on your phone. Also, if you want, you can follow us on Instagram at the107MMA. Check us out on there. We'll respond to anything.
Absolutely.
We'll respond
Give us your thoughts. If you love it, you hate it, Give us your thoughts, right? We love to talk to you.
Like, you love it, right?
I love it.
I hate it.
What?
I don't know.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Let us know. Also, check out our short form video series, especially if you're not like a true diehard of MMA, or if you're just trying to get little bits and pieces of like the key things that were happening on each card. The Casuals Guide to MMA. We post one for every card, and we'll be adding more series very soon as well.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to be working on a few more things. Some interviews here in the near future. Not saying any names, but those will be coming at some point soon. And I think we're going to International Fight Week. Did we decide that?
I don't know, man. It's looking kind of shitty now.
The card looks shitty.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to think about that.
But they did just add my boy Figgy to that card, so...
They did, versus Manel Cap, which is a wild fight.
Two my boys, but Figgy's like way more my boy.
He's
Anyways, we're ranting.
So, yeah.
We're ranting.
Yeah.
You ready to take us out?
Yeah, no, please, you do it.
All right, thank you guys so much. As I said, like and subscribe. We love you guys. We appreciate everything. Dino Bam Bam, DS, a.k.a. MMA Youngboy. You used to go by that.
We still go by.
All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.